Hey guys, happy Sunday. Welcome back to the weekly trucking roundup of the top news hitting the trucking industry this week. Now, I've got a packed video for you guys today, everything from the upcoming inspection blitz to a new broker transparency lawsuit against TQL to truck parking to the economic blackout that happened on Friday and more. So let's get into our trucking roundup. Ready? Let's go. So first off, we have an updated save the date for the International Road Check Inspection Blitz. When is this happening? From May 13th to May 15th of this year. Now, every single year, the inspection blitz focuses on a driver violation category as well as a vehicle violation category. This year, the inspections are going to be focusing on hours of service as well as tires. Inspectors will dig into logbooks, whether paper or electronic, to sniff out those falsified records. And when it comes to tires, they're checking for tread depth, inflation, and damage. Now, here's the deal. Road Check Week is not just a headache for most of us carriers and truckers, it's also a capacity cruncher. Some drivers, especially owner-operators, decide to park their trucks during this Blitz week in order to avoid any problems, which of course tightens that capacity. Most inspections are level 1, which is I think it's 37 steps of pure scrutiny. If you pass that, you snag a CVSA decal. If you fail it, you're out of service till everything is squared away. And considering the focus, a huge focus on hours of service, specifically falsifying logbooks, yeah, we can expect quite a few folks to sit this one out this year. Then, boy, do I have a story for you. It's a continuation of the TQL broker transparency saga, where this week, Pink Cheetah Express, specifically Dakota Springfields, roared into federal court with a lawsuit against TQL, who, as most of you know, is the second largest broker in the United States. Now, in terms of what happened there, you can look last week's weekly roundup to find out what happened in 2024 as well as 2023 between Dakota Springfields and TQL. But on February 25th, Ms. Springfields filed a lawsuit in the District of Columbia court to force TQL to cough up all the transaction documents under federal transparency rules. But wait, you might be thinking, if you know the story already, didn't Dakota Springfields already get the information that she was wanting and actually found out that TQL kept 44% of the ice cream load she hauled? Yes, but now her company Pink Cheetah Express is suing TQL to spill all of it. Unredacted records of every single load she has hauled for TQL, and I believe she has hauled 14 of them. Now, the suit claims, and I'm going to quote this, they claim that TQL's dodging a regulatory duty and might be breaking antitrust rules by locking carriers out of rate data. Now, this is a big one because the results of this lawsuit are going to possibly set a foundation for whether brokers are actually allowed to ask carriers to waive their rights to see those records when getting set up with them. So this is definitely a developing story, and I'm going to be watching it like a hawk with a bucket of popcorn at my side. Now, the next big story comes straight from Washington, D.C. on Friday, February 28th, where the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act has been reintroduced in Congress. Now, this is huge news for a lot of drivers, a lot of truck drivers who have been sounding the alarm about the lack of parking spaces for them. This bill aims to allocate more federal funds to build more parking spots as well as improve the existing ones. Think better lighting, better security, and better rest facilities. This push comes after years of advocacy from groups like the OIDA, who said that the lack of parking is not just a nuisance, it's a safety issue. And they're not wrong. Data has shown that because of the lack of parking spots, drivers either park in unsafe spots or continue driving tired because there's just simply nowhere to park. Now, this is not the first time this bill has hit the floor, but with growing bipartisan support in 2025, this bill maybe can make it through. Now, for truckers, this parking bill is huge. Less stress, fewer $150 tickets, and more shut-eye. And carriers might also benefit by seeing lower insurance costs because the crashes caused by fatigue might actually go down. What do you think? Will this finally get a green light? Next up, we're talking about crime on highways. This week, Congress held a hearing on cargo theft and freight fraud, and this is shining a light on a really big issue in the industry, which is costing the industry billions of dollars. Now, cargo theft is not just about those stolen goods, right? It's about fake brokers, identity scams, and organized crime rings that are targeting freight. Now, it's interesting. During the hearing, the experts testified about the need for tighter regulations, like mandatory broker transparency and harsher penalties. And of course, the loudest voice in the room was OOIDA. Additionally, we have to talk about tariffs. The current administration has doubled down and has explained that the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, as well as I believe it's 10% tariffs on China, are going into effect on March 4th, which is this upcoming Tuesday. What's the result? Well, we have cross-border haulers scrambling. Some say they're booking extra loads right now to beat that deadline, while others are bracing for a paperwork nightmare. Speaking of cross-border trucking, we have a southern border freight boom happening at the border of US and Mexico right now. And Landline Now reported on X through a post that there is no sign that this is slowing down. Basically, shippers are rushing loads to beat that tariff deadline, which is spiking those volumes, at least in the short term. But what happens once the tariffs hit? Well, FreightWaves actually reported that imports could drop, cutting loads for border haulers. Think auto parts, produce, electronics, and so on and so forth. So it looks like the pre-tariff surge that everyone was talking about in terms of volume, yeah, it's actually happening. It's just happening on a smaller scale. It's not as extensive as some predicted. And finally, we will end this video with the economic blackout that went viral this week. On February 28th, on Friday, the People's Union USA sparked a nationwide blackout, a 24-hour boycott of large retailers like Amazon, Walmart, as well as fast food joints. Now, we know that when there's less consumer demand, it does ripple through our industry and it turns to less volumes. But what effect does a 24-hour demand dip do to trucking? Well, RXO, a broker, actually suggested that freight tenders dropped by 2 to 3% on Friday. It's small, but it's real. Retailers have prepared for this economic blackout by front-loading shipments earlier this week. So yes, it's a tiny little effect, but let's zoom out for a minute. This blackout was a warning shot, and the People's Union has got more planned. March 28th is marked as another economic blackout plus week-long boycotts of Amazon and Walmart. Newsweek says it's all about consumers flexing their muscles, but the problem is trucking is in the crossfire. If these stick, freight could see rolling slowdowns, less consumer spending, fewer goods to move. So that's a wrap for this week's top trucking news. With many of these stories still in the developing stage, which one are you keeping a close eye on? For me, personally, it's the broker transparency lawsuit, simply because I'm super curious how it turns out and what it means for the future of trucking. Anyway, guys, wishing you all an awesome rest of your weekend and a great start to your week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.